Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you for Toadstool Sports Saturday edition, November 29th. Thanks to everybody who hung out for the college football week 14 edition last night. Give out 2 more college football plays on that show, so those are coming up today. One is at noon. I will reiterate those plays. I put the noon one out on Instagram already as well, so you can see that there as well if you want just that isolated analysis on it. Yesterday we were 5-6, which I don't love, obviously, especially because one of the hockey favorites lost. So moneyline favorite, that eats into your wallet a little bit more. College basketball was, I believe, only 2-3 yesterday, which wasn't great. NJIT looked like they were on their way to a cover, and then they fell short at the end. I don't know how much they wound up losing by. I don't think they missed the cover by that much, but they missed it. Charleston Southern was a cover. I think they just had a wire-to-wire cover. They didn't win outright, but they played a pretty decent game, and they came within that number, so that worked out. Wisconsin, I mean, I don't know what else I have to say about this Wisconsin team. Like, how many times are they going to just not show up in a spot where I think they should show up, or a spot where I think they might be up against a team that might not be in the greatest spot either? Wisconsin, I mean, they were nowhere close. They lost the game outright. They were never in position to even win that game. I don't know what that was. Mississippi State was extremely frustrating in basketball. If you saw that game, it was a close game, but they had the lead throughout like the crucial stretch of the game, and it looked like they were going to get the win and put it away, and then it wound up going into overtime, and they lost and did not cover either number. I think you could have gotten 1.5 on it. Or money line. I mean, any of those didn't matter. I mean, you're pretty much playing them to win the game outright. I think debatably they should have. I think it was a good spot to play them. That was the one that I added late. I mean, that one could have given us a winning day, and it looked like that was going to be the case. I'm not happy about it. I'm not too mad that I added it. Like, I just think that, yeah, I mean, they had the game in hand, and it just went the wrong way at the end. I'm not happy about that. And then we did get the outright win with Pittsburgh in basketball, and they actually won the game on a buzzer beater. But they were covering most of the game. They had the lead at various points. That was good. College football, we started off bad with Mississippi State not getting there, even though they teased towards the end. I mean, they were in the game early in the game. Like, the game was tied. They were only down 4, I think, in the second quarter, like getting close towards halftime. They were never really out of range of the cover, really. But like towards the end, they needed to get 2 scores to get back within the spread towards the end. And they got 1, and they were back down by like 12. Like, okay, get the ball back, score one more time, let's do this. But no, they gave up another touchdown, and that was it. And they wound up, I believe, losing by 12. By 19, is that what it was? 18, whatever it was. I'm not happy about that. But then we did turn college football around with 2 wins after that, with New Mexico getting the win. New Mexico was out of the gate, 10-0 lead, and then they decided to fall behind 14-10, but they retook the lead, had the lead late in the game. It was tied again, but they never surrendered the lead again, and they never fell behind again, I should say, and they did get the late touchdown, I believe, to win the game. So we got the win with New Mexico. Texas played a really good game, man, and they bounced A&M from the ranks of the undefeated. A huge win for Texas, huge performance from them. That is pretty much what I thought. Like, I thought they were going to win the game outright by giving out that play. I thought it would be maybe a little bit close. I mean, it was a close game. They won by 10, but it was a closer game than that. But they really came to play. They put a motivated performance out there. Hockey, I'm not thrilled about hockey. The New York Islanders, the Islanders made a nice comeback. They tied the game, and then they wound up losing anyway in overtime or shootout or whatever. Not happy about that at all. And then Utah didn't get there either after being out to a 2-0 lead. Don't even want to talk about that anymore. But I think they were clearly the right side at that underdog price. I mean, they had many chances to win that game, and they wound up losing. I think maybe also in overtime or shootout. So I think we took both losses in overtime, and then my NBA and my Piston whispering continues to be elite as the Orlando Magic won the game outright against Detroit. So we did get that one for the only play in the NBA last night. That was a winner. Jeffrey, what's up, man? Pinsy, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. NJIT had a lot of turnovers. Yeah, that pisses me off because that's something that can be fixed for the most part, although the better team will turn you over to some extent, but South Florida, I don't even know what happened with South Florida. I think I gave it a lean there, but I don't know. Charles, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Laney, what's up, man? What are we talking? Michigan and Ohio State? Yeah, I mean, I talked about the game last night. Basically, I have conflicted opinions on that game, so I don't really have a strong opinion on it. It's not a play that I really want to make. I mean, I think the under might be worth a look in that game, although the total's gone down a little bit. I do expect a low-scoring battle in that game, which I also think is more conducive to Michigan covering. I think Michigan might cover that because they're like a 10-point underdog. Ohio State may show up motivated, though, because of the way that they lost to Michigan last year, and everybody was just blasting Ohio State. Oh, my God, Ryan Day, he can't beat Michigan, you know. He just has to come out with the nipples protruding, and Ohio State should probably win that game. I think they'll win, but I think Michigan might cover that. I think it would be a low-scoring, fairly close game would be what I think. But, yeah, I mean, Ohio State, there is reason for them to be motivated just because this is a huge game for both teams, and Michigan keeps beating them. So I think Ohio might want to redeem themselves from that. But Michigan needs the game more. There's no doubt about that, and you're giving them a ton of points at home. Michigan still has an outside shot of making the Big Ten title game. I think they would need to win this game, and I think they need one other team to – I think they need Oregon to lose or something like that. But I like teams that are in that spot where they don't control their own destiny. And, of course, Ohio State does because all they need to do is win, and they're in the conference championship against Indiana. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. And I think those are basically my thoughts in that game. But Ohio State, I mean, even if they lose this game, they're still going to make the playoffs. So their championship aspirations are still there. From Michigan, it's a little bit more question. Like Michigan, I think they're kind of on the outside looking in as far as like, can they make the playoffs? So in that respect, Michigan needs the game more as well. So I would probably take the points with Michigan, but I don't really want it. You faded the Red Wings. I'm going to talk about that game in a second. I forget who even won that, but I'll talk about it in the hockey. Dude, how are there so many hockey games today if there were so many games yet? Like almost every team played yesterday, and now like they're all playing again today. I hate it. Dude, like it makes way too much work for me. All right, I'm going to try to run through college basketball here as quickly as I can. I know I always say it's going to be quick, and it isn't. We do have a noontime game between Indiana and Bethune-Cookman, which is at Indiana. This is not going to be one of my plays, but generally I would probably lean towards fading Indiana here. They're coming off a pretty nice win over Kansas State, who are a Big 12 team, even though they're a little bit down this year. But then after this game, Indiana does start Big 10 play against Minnesota, and then they have Louisville up after that too. So these are much bigger games. So this game against a SWAC team sandwiched in here. surrounded by bigger games. It is a sandwich spot. I don't know, something about the vibe of it. I don't really want to get there with this one, but I do lean to taking the points with Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman did just lose as a favorite at home to a pretty bad Stony Brook team. So Bethune-Cookman may be kind of bounce back mode here. They may have even been looking ahead because that was a bad game for them, man. That was a bad loss. Bethune-Cookman, they're one of the better teams in the SWAC at the very least, and they're pretty battle-tested so far this year, so not going to be intimidated by Indiana. I mean, this is a Bethune-Cookman team that took Auburn to overtime on the road, so I would take the points with them if I was going to do it. Indiana's all the way up to a 28.5-point favorite, but the money is coming back on the Bethune-Cookman side, and it's a pretty low total of 149, so taking that many points maybe a little bit better in that scenario, even though I thought Indiana liked to play fast, and Bethune-Cookman tends to like to play slow, but that low total seems to indicate that the game's going to be on the slower side, and Indiana, I mean, they know they could just show up and get the win pretty much, so I think that might be what they might do here. Like, they don't really need to really expend a lot of energy, like pushing the tempo in this one to get this win. 62% of the tickets on Indiana, 73% of the cash on Bethune-Cookman. I would take the points in that one, but that one is not on my card right now. It won't be, but that one's close. I mean, if I was going to add another one or two, that one would probably make it. Best bet segment is already here, man. Screw it. I know I reiterate them at the end, but for people to find the isolated analysis, they're going to have to dig into these episodes, or they're going to have to just go to my Instagram. But we're going to lay the points with Louisiana Tech at 11.5. I think it might already be rising. Let me see. What's the number on that right now? Where are you, man? Louisiana Tech. There they are. They're 12.5 right now. 11.5, 12. Not a huge difference there. I know this is a very low total too at 136, but we're kind of banking on Alcorn State being a pathetic offense in this game, and I really think it's a bad spot for Alcorn State. I know it looks pretty easy to fade them because they're 1-7. They're in the SWAC. They are battle-tested. I'll give them that. They faced Florida State, Minnesota, Maryland, LSU, Oklahoma, all on the road. They're certainly battle-tested, and they did just get their first win of the season, and a lot of times I will say that when you get that first win, you get that monkey off your back, it'll propel you forward. But what was that win? They beat Indiana State, and they were 12.5-point underdogs in this game, and they won the game, which was in Terre Haute as well, even though for some reason Indiana State wasn't listed as the home team in this game because I think it was like a tournament-style thing hosted by Indiana State, but I'm pretty sure that was on Indiana State's home floor. So even more ridiculous that Alcorn State was able to somehow win that game. If you look at what happened in the game, it was pretty much an outlier, I would say, for the shooting at least. Indiana State had a bad shooting game, 38%. Alcorn, 51%. Don't think that's repeatable. 21% from three for Indiana State, very low. Although Alcorn State did still win despite losing the turnover battle because they did win the rebounding battle. But I think they're going to have a harder time winning a rebound battle against Louisiana Tech, man. And for Louisiana Tech, they're kind of under the radar right now, and I know they're not battle-tested yet, but people are going to look at the fact that they played Indiana State twice, and they didn't have a good result really either time. They lost on the road to them by 9. So in the same arena where Alcorn State pulled off the upset and beat Indiana State, Louisiana Tech lost the game. And then Louisiana Tech was only able to beat Indiana State by 2 at home, so the zigzag didn't even work, and they actually didn't cover. But Alcorn State is clearly the worst team here, man. I mean, there's nothing else to really say about that. Even though I know they're battle-tested, they're coming off that huge upset. I think it's a letdown spot. I think people, if they look at the common opponents that I just showed you, they're going to put too much stock into that, and that can mislead them as far as this game is concerned. And Alcorn State has another big game up next against Iowa State. So it's possible they don't have a full effort here against Louisiana Tech, man, coming off playing another double-digit favorite. Now they have to do that again. Looks difficult to me, man. Louisiana Tech's just coming off kind of a lackluster game against that same Indiana State team. So that common opponent makes this game pretty weird, makes it an interesting handicap, and it makes it a situation that I do want to throw onto my card there. That's Louisiana Tech minus the points. All right. I don't know. I usually talk about my Boston teams, but I don't know. I mean, BU at Northern Kentucky, there's nothing to really say about that. Northern Kentucky's the better team. They're the favorite. There's not really a situation to look at there. We do have a situation here where I'm going to lay the points with Texas State. This is going to be a play number 2 in whatever tournament this is. It's one of these early season tournaments. This is the consolation bracket in the Resorts World Classic. So this is in Las Vegas, which I think is actually a worse venue or a worse city to be playing in for Lehigh, because Texas State is at least closer to Las Vegas. So I don't know. They might have more fans showing up, but Lehigh is in a bad spot here, dude. Again, I know it looks almost too obvious to lay the points with a 6-3 team against a 2-6 team, but look at what Lehigh just did in the previous game. They were 10.5-point underdogs, and they almost pulled off the upset against UC Santa Barbara, and that's how they got bounced from this tournament. I mean, that was a huge game for them. They were winning the entire first half of this game pretty much. They fell behind. They didn't let the game slip away from them, and they hung in the game for the entirety of the game and fell just short. And when a team falls just short as a huge underdog like that, I want to be against them in the next game, man. They lost on free throws at the end of the game pretty much. And if you look at what happened in this game, Santa Barbara had a horrible shooting game. They won the rebound battle, so that kind of tells you that they outplayed Lehigh, which they did get the win, but terrible shooting from them. 38% from the field, 17% from 3. That's a major outlier. 41% from 3 for Lehigh. I don't really expect them to repeat that either. So I think they're going to be up against it against this Texas State team that I thought Texas State was going to cover yesterday. And I know they did lose the win streak, so sometimes that will hang a team over. I know they got to face an in-state opponent next against Rice, but I don't know that they're really going to be looking ahead to Rice. I mean, Rice hasn't really been good in basketball for, I don't know, a long time. But Texas State, I think their last result was a little bit misleading, man. I thought they were going to cover this number against Seattle, and Texas State had a couple of points in the second half where they just didn't score again, man. I mean, they were winning the game at halftime, and then they had multiple spans of multiple minutes where they didn't score. Texas State had one 4-minute window where they didn't score here, between 18 and 14 minutes left in the game. And then they had another one where they didn't score between 11 minutes and 7 minutes. They had 2 4-minute time spans in the second half where they didn't score at all. So they started having their shooting just completely dried up in the second half of this game, man. It was a game where I thought they were going to cover, and they wound up not even doing that and falling way short of this Seattle team. It's not a very good offensive team, although Seattle was a 7.5-point favorite. But you look at what happened in this game. Texas State shot 39% from the field, 18% from 3, so they had a horrendous shooting game, which I expect there's going to be some progression back to some sort of mean here. They're going to shoot better, I would imagine. Seattle shot over 50% in the game. Texas State won the rebounding battle, so that kind of tells you, again, that more predictable stat. Texas State was better on the interior than Seattle, and they had the size there to get that done. So I think Texas State will win the rebounding battle in this game. I think they will get the win, and I think they will cover this time. So we don't really see much as far as the market read yet on this. They're laying 6. It is a low total. I know that does worry me a little bit. Very low, actually, at 133 with the money coming in on the under. But, I mean, 6 is not a huge number to lay in basketball, so we'll still do it in that one. Sometimes can't be afraid, even though I do like taking points, usually with the low totals. The Mammoth play, that was one of my plays yesterday. I'm still not happy about that. I think we both had it yesterday. I don't know if I would really go under in this necessarily. I mean, if I think Texas State is going to cover, the total might wind up going over, and there's some value lost there. But yeah, it looks pretty difficult to play under a total that's that low. But also, I wouldn't do it because Texas State, they had such a cold shooting performance in the last game. That made that game look misleadingly low scoring. So I don't think I would do that. All right. What else was I looking at here? Oh, all right. Let's just continue. Houston Christian and Georgia Southern. This is just one of those games where it's a misleading record. Like Georgia Southern at 3-5. Why are they a 6.5 point favorite against Houston Christian 4-2? And I think you know the answer to that is that Houston Christian, they haven't really played strong opponents. I mean, they have 2 wins against non-Division I teams, and their Division I wins are against UL Monroe and the Citadel. And they have a pretty ugly loss to Bellarmine in there too. So Houston Christian, they face a very weak schedule. Georgia Southern is indeed the better team, and they're way more battle-tested as they played Georgia Tech, Florida State. They played pretty close on the road against ECU as well, East Carolina. I mean, they're not great, but that was a decent performance from Georgia Southern. And they played in-state big brother Georgia Tech to within 2 points on the road, too. So Georgia Southern's definitely the better team here. I don't have a whole lot else to say about it. This isn't a play for me, but I would lay the points in this one. Although they're down from 8 to 7.5, but I guess a little bit more value there, but that's just one of those early season matchups where the records can mislead you. So USC upstate, South Carolina upstate is at Nebraska. I think Nebraska's in kind of a bad spot, I think Nebraska is not necessarily in a bad spot here because they came off that Kansas State win, and then they had kind of an explainable bad performance because Nebraska had just beaten Kansas State, which is a huge win. I think Nebraska won that Kansas City tournament or whatever. And then they had this lapse as 14.5 point favorites against Winthrop. And Winthrop came somewhat close to winning this game, man. Nebraska did get margin later in the game, but Winthrop refused to go away. And they came back to within 3 late in the game. So, or 5 at least. Maybe it was, it was 3 with 1:45 left. So Nebraska, they're coming off an escape here, man. So I would start looking maybe towards laying the points with Nebraska. The problem is, well, they do have a break, but their next game is going to be against one of their biggest rivals, which is Creighton, an in-state rival. So I'm not really jumping out of my seat to lay the points with Nebraska, even though they are off that lackluster performance. I know they have a bunch of rest before that Creighton game. USC upstate, they're not in a terrible spot. You got to think they will at least try to show up for this game because this is one of the biggest opponents they're going to face all season in Nebraska. So probably they will show up for it at the very least. So I do have some concerns about it. Nebraska's up to a 25.5 point favorite. I would probably lay the points in that one just because they are in that bounce back spot, but I don't love it by any means. Yeah, they're undefeated, Nebraska, but looking at the fact that a team is undefeated this early in the season can be pretty misleading. You got to look at their schedule, though Nebraska did have a few good wins in there against Oklahoma and New Mexico's. New Mexico's probably down this year, though, and then Kansas State, but Kansas State's fairly down as well. So Nebraska, they've had, I wouldn't say they've had the strongest schedule, but it hasn't been a weak schedule either. All right. Next up, I'll give you one massive underdog here, and hopefully they get this done with Tennessee Tech plus the 34.5. And I know we're fading Georgia, and Georgia likes to go really, really fast. But again, I think this is going to be a situation where they just don't have a reason to do that. They don't want to exert all this energy in this game. They have bigger games around this one. Georgia, they're coming off their first loss of the season, and I talk about how that can hang you over into the next game. It was also in a big game against Clemson, and it was an overtime game on Sunday. I know they've had a bunch of time to rest from that, but I don't know if that's really going to help them, man. I think that still could have a hangover effect, and then after they play this Tennessee Tech team that they probably won't pay any attention to, they do have Florida State after this, so that is a much bigger game as well. So it's kind of a look-ahead spot as well. I do not love the spot for Georgia here at all. And as far as Tennessee Tech, I think they'll show up for the game at least. They're not a good team at all, really. And they really, their wins are mostly against non-Division I teams too, which is pretty bad. They did get one win against a Division I team in USC Upstate on the road, which is an all right win. Then they had a bad game against Kentucky. They got blown out, but yeah, it's Kentucky. I know Kentucky's kind of a similar style to Georgia and that they both play fast, but that'll at least mean that Tennessee Tech is kind of used to this now because they did just do it once, and they won't really be intimidated by Georgia because Georgia is not quite as good as Kentucky, I don't think so. we got Tennessee Tech here. I don't think Georgia's really going to have a reason to really try to push the tempo to such a degree. Like, they don't need to cover this game. They just need to get in and get out. So I just don't see them being that focused on it. The line is up to 35 now, it looks like, in this one. It is a high total, so yeah, I mean, you do kind of worry about that as far as taking the points, but this is a lot of points, man. So I think Tennessee Tech can come within this number. Again, I just think it's a terrible spot for Georgia, so we're going to do that. All right. George Mason could be in a little bit of a letdown because they did just win one of these preseason tournaments. They won the Sunshine Slam Beach Division, beating one of the Florida teams in Florida Atlantic, and now they're coming off of that. Maybe a little bit of a letdown here. This is a big game for both teams, though. I mean, it's a Virginia rivalry between James Madison and George Mason. It's the historical fight between James Madison and George Mason. It's a duel between the two men. James Madison, a decent team as well. But they've had kind of a weak schedule, though, so that's kind of the issue with James Madison. George Mason is definitely the better team, and they are undefeated at home. And James Madison has been pretty bad on the road at 1-3. Although George Mason hasn't really faced a difficult schedule yet either. But George Mason is definitely going to be a big favorite in this game. Yeah, they're up to 12.5, 86% of the tickets, 95% of the cash on them. Low total at 142. I would probably lean towards taking the points in this one still, just because George Mason is coming back from winning that tournament. So maybe a slight letdown spot there, but I don't want to do anything with it. Delaware State and UMBC caught my eye, even though this isn't a play for me, because Delaware State just lost to a non-Division I team, and they almost lost to another one 2 games before that. But I think that kind of just means Delaware State's just not good, which we know they're not. They're one of the weakest, probably 15 or so teams in all of Division I, but coming off a Division II loss like that, which was against Virginia State, I think is who that was. Yeah, that's a pretty ugly loss there, man. So maybe they will step it up and play better against UMBC, although UMBC has been pretty good at home. UMBC is coming off an easy blowout win over some other non-Division I team. They do potentially have a look ahead to Georgetown, because that's kind of that's a Big East team, and it's Georgetown. They have a lot of history, but also they're in the same area because that's that Baltimore, D.C. area there. So I would probably lean towards taking the points with Delaware State. I don't really want to do it. It is a very low total, though, down to 136. And UMBC is up to a 13.5-point favorite here, so you're getting more points with Delaware State. They're a real ugly team, though, man. But again, with a low total and a double-digit spread like that, I know I laid one of the double-digit spreads a little while ago, but still, I would probably take the points in that situation. Lipscomb and Southeast Missouri State, SEMO. Lipscomb, I mean, they have a better record than SEMO, but I think SEMO is actually, I mean, I don't want to say they're the better team because they're not favored by that much at home, but I mean, I'm not really sure, man. I think they're maybe getting shortchanged on the number here because they're sitting at 2-5. Lipscomb is 3-4, so Lipscomb looks like the better team, but they're 1-4 on the road. And Lipscomb is coming off a blowout win as a 7.5-point underdog at Marshall. So Lipscomb could be in a letdown spot after that, man. That was a big win on the road at Marshall, pulling off an upset like that. And Lipscomb shot crazy in the game, 53% from the field, 50% from three. They actually got out-rebounded and still won the game, basically because of outlier shooting. And Marshall had like the worst shooting performance they could have, 35% from the field and 23% from three. So I think Lipscomb, it's kind of a misleading result. I expect them to regress in the next game, let's say. So I do like SEMO in this game. Plus, it looks too easy to take Lipscomb off of that win like that and the team with the better record. SEMO, I mean, they face a fairly difficult schedule, man. They face Missouri already, Iowa. They played pretty competitively against Missouri. Losing to St. Louis and St. Thomas, those are good teams as well. They lost on the road at Northern Arizona last time out, so they are kind of in bounce-back mode here, coming back home. Last time they were at home, they did win at least. So their wins have all come on their home floor at the very least. So I like SEMO in that one. It's not a play for me, but The money seems to very much agree with that, as it's already flipped SEMO from a 1.5-point dog to a 3.5-point favorite, which I think is actually more of a justifiable line in that one. I actually think they're the slightly better team. 96% of the cash on SEMO, 67% of tickets on Lipscomb. So it looks like a kind of a pros versus Joes scenario shaping up there. Getting Southeast Missouri at basically a pick-em price would have been a lot better than having to lay 3.5, though. So I hate how these lines move so quickly, man. Let me see about Southeast Missouri. Ken Baum has them at 223. What does he have Lipscomb at? He actually has Lipscomb significantly higher, like 60 ranking spots higher, but I don't know if I buy it, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say that line is a little bit high, though, for my liking, when you could have gotten a much better number on that one. I wasn't going to give it out as a play. It wasn't going to make my card, but it's an interesting one for sure, and I do still lean to SEMO. Dirty Sock, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. All right. What other games? I mean, this Drake-Georgia Tech game is interesting. This is in Florida. It's interesting because Georgia Tech is a very slight favorite here. Only 3.5, although the money looks like it might be coming in that way. 50% of tickets, 88% of the... Only 3.5. 50% of tickets, 88% of the cash, though, on Georgia Tech. On the minus 3.5. I don't know, man. I mean, to me, it almost looks too easy to lay the points. Like, you have an ACC team against a Drake team that is probably down this year because they lost both coaching staffs they had each of the last 2 years. They've had a different coaching staff every year for the last 3 years now because they keep doing well and moving on to bigger things. Drake coming off a pretty difficult loss to LSU, too. They played pretty well against LSU, only losing by 9. So they're coming off of that, too. So, I don't know, man. I mean, again, it does look too easy to lay the points with Georgia Tech, but maybe I would still agree with it because you're looking at Drake needing to play tough 2 games in a row against 2 superior opponents, which is difficult. And Georgia Tech, I mean, they're coming off a Big East opponent, but it was DePaul, like the worst of the Big East. And Georgia Tech lost that game pretty ugly by double digits, so debatably it is a bounce back for them here. South Carolina State and Winthrop. I was close to adding this one to my card. Winthrop, as I just pointed out, I mean, they played really close with Nebraska. That game was within 3 in the final 2 minutes of the game. So Winthrop put in a huge effort as a big underdog there. Now, they're going to have to turn around and play against a very weak South Carolina State team after that. Winthrop might be a little bit gassed after that. I know we got caught going against Winthrop in the game after they took Arkansas to the wire, and they still covered against Jackson State, although Jackson State was within covering range for a lot of that game. I would take the points with South Carolina State here, although I know they're a horrible record here, 0-7. They faced a few pretty difficult opponents in here. They faced Louisville, Missouri. I mean, even the non-power conference teams they've faced, a lot of them are pretty good. Samford, Charleston. I don't think Chattanooga's that bad either. They're coming off a blowout loss to Missouri. They're definitely road tested as they played a ton of road games here. Yeah, I think they'll show up for this at least. Winthrop is going to try to push the pace, though. I think Winthrop is going to like to play fast, whereas South Carolina State does not. So maybe a little bit of a concern there. Winthrop is close to being in the top 100 tempo-wise. South Carolina State, Ken Baum has in the bottom. They actually play fast, too. What am I saying? So I thought they were a slow-paced team, but they're not. They're just a terrible offense. Ken Baum has them in the bottom 20 overall and bottom 10 in offense, which is not great, although he has them unlucky as well. I would take the points, but, I mean, I have some hesitations with it. Winthrop is coming off that huge game, though. It is a high total, 159. Winthrop is up to a 20-point favorite here. Yeah, I mean, I still think I could only lean one way there and take the points to South Carolina State, but it's not on my card. All right. Winthrop 6-1 against the spread. That means they're going to regress. Because, like, I mean, the odds makers have to adjust and whatever to account for that. So, like, teams are never going to be, like, that crazy against the spread for an entire season. Live in Missouri on Monday. I thought it was already available there, but that's awesome, man. There you go. You're going to be able to get to do it finally. Howard and Mount St. Mary's. You look at these teams' records. Howard 4-4. Mount St. Mary's 1-6. Mount St. Mary's, and it's like a pick'em line. Like, who's going to want to take Mount St. Mary's here? Well, I'm saying that you should, because Howard, I mean, I know they faced a couple of big opponents, Missouri and Duke, but I'm just not buying that there's that much of a disparity between these two teams. The odds makers are telling you that as well. Mount St. Mary's, I mean, they've faced some pretty difficult opponents as well. They face more power conference teams, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Maryland, Ohio State, and they're coming off getting blown out by Ohio State. So I think they're going to kind of bounce back from that. And they've only had one home game all season. I know they took an ugly loss to Bucknell. Bucknell is terrible this year, but Howard is not good either, man. I'm telling you that. Howard, I mean, their wins are against weak opponents. They have 2 non-Division I wins, a win over Alcorn State, and their best win was over Niagara, which is not very impressive. This game is a home game, for Mount St. Mary's, I believe, so which is interesting because the odds makers are still telling you Howard is a slightly better team, but I would lean towards Mount St. Mary's in that one. They're down from a 3-point favorite to a 2-point favorite, though, so the money seems to be disagreeing with that one. And it's a low total, but it's in like a pick-the-winner price range. UC Santa Barbara and Seattle. I just talked about this game. Of course, Texas State went just completely silent from the field in that game. So that game was a little bit of an outlier. Like, that game was misleading, let's just say, on the final score. And UC Santa Barbara, like, they look too good for Seattle is what I mean. So Seattle's not really as good as what that looked. And UC Santa Barbara, they're coming off almost losing as a favorite, so I would have to lean to UC Santa Barbara in this game. This one's not on my card either, but the money is very much agreeing with that, as Seattle's already down from a 6-point favorite to a 3-point favorite. Again, these line moves just get crazy, man. I saw it at 4 not that long ago, but I would take the points with UC Santa Barbara, but getting less and less value there with that number. Nancy, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. I don't even know what other games I was going to... I think I have one more play in here somewhere. We do have another big Buffalo matchup between the University of Buffalo and Canisius. Canisius coming off a terrible year last year, but they look a little bit more competitive this year, and I think they're going to try to step it up for their in-city bigger brother in Buffalo. So I think Canisius will show up in this game. Buffalo's not really in a terrible spot, though, because they just had a really ugly game against Bucknell where they probably should have won by more. That was down in Florida, and Bucknell is pretty bad, although Buffalo's not as good as their 7-0 record looks either. Buffalo's faced an easy schedule so far, so I don't think Buffalo's really as good as they look there. They're up to an 8-point favorite. I would take the points with Canisius. The total is low as well, down to 140. I don't really want to do it because Buffalo is coming off that real ugly game, but I mean, I still think Canisius will be in the role of the little brother there, so I think they may step it up for it. LSU and DePaul are playing in Florida. Great power conference matchup between LSU and DePaul. DePaul just beat Georgia Tech, but I don't think they're really not going to show up for a game against LSU. LSU coming up beating Drake, where debatably they should have won by more. They didn't cover as double-digit favorites there. This is the Emerald Coast Classic. I think this is actually the championship in this tournament. So I think both teams will show up for that reason. One of these teams could get the meaningless championship in one of these dumb preseason tournaments here. I think it comes down to which team is the better team, although that is LSU, but the money is coming in towards DePaul. LSU is a 5-point favorite, down from 6. 82% of the tickets on them. Of course, the public doesn't like DePaul. I mean, they've been really, really bad. Like, basically the doormat of the Big East for a while, though. LSU was one of the doormats in the SEC last year, though better conference. 75% of the tickets are on DePaul. So the money is saying DePaul. I mean, I don't really have a reason to disagree with what the money is doing in that one. So I will say that. And then I think that is... Oh, no, I have one more play, which is in Quebec. We're going to go up to Canada for this last game, and we're going to lay the points with Fordham, even though I know this line looks like it might be a little bit too high, but I do like the spot. It's actually, you can probably get 6 now or maybe 5.5, so I'll update that in the description if that's the case. I know, again, we're laying points in a game with a low total here, but the spot, I think, sets up really nicely for this. Fordham is coming off barely beating Franklin Pierce, who is some non-Division I team. Fordham I presume was a substantial favorite in this game, or would have been if it was lined. I don't know how they came close to losing this game, really. Just weird things happening up in Quebec, I guess. But I think coming off such a lackluster performance, I think they're going to be focused on this next game, even though I guess you could argue it's an in-state big brother, little brother situation. But I don't know, because Albany is obviously in Albany. Fordham is in New York City in the Bronx. So I don't know, does Albany really have that thing with Fordham? I don't really know. I know it looks too easy to lay the points, again, because Fordham has the better record, but they are definitely the better team as well. And this is about the spot, man. In Albany, they're coming up pushing Colgate to the brink, man. And Colgate were 7.5-point favorites in this game, and Albany almost pulled off the upset, and that was in the first round of this tournament. So Albany could have had this pretty good win for their program, and they were winning this game for a lot of the game, right through the middle stretch of the game, and they fell just short by the end of it. Not really any shooting percentage outliers to look at in this game, really, but Albany did push Colgate to the limit there. Colgate is a little bit down, though, as far as like the Patriot League is bad anyway. Colgate had like dominated that conference for a while, but they're not really as good now, I wouldn't say. And I think Fordham, I'm not convinced that, I mean, I guess the odds makers are telling you Colgate is actually better than Fordham, but I'm not convinced that there's that much of a difference between those two teams as far as which one is better than the other. But yeah, we're going to go with Fordham in this one, man. Both teams do like to play slow, I believe, which I don't love exactly, but Fordham plays exorbitantly slow, which can frustrate teams that don't like to play as slow. Albany plays slow, but not as slow as that, although I don't think they're going to be completely thrown out of what they want to do, but again, I think Fordham can frustrate them. I think Fordham can get that one done. Franklin Pierce was forgettable. He was the most handsome president, man. What are you talking about? And I think he was the only one who didn't marry because he was gay, probably. He was also from New Hampshire. I think I've been to like some of the Franklin Pierce, like whatever there are, the Franklin Pierce house, whatever they have there. Mark Lawrence likes Florida State and Arkansas State in college. I agree with Florida State. I think I disagreed with Arkansas State. All right. Yeah, I think that was it for college basketball. Let's go to hockey. Yeah, maybe this won't be a 2-hour video. Hell yeah. Hockey, again, we have so many games today, man, and almost all of these games, every game except for Edmonton, Seattle, I believe, involves teams that played yesterday, because I think every team literally played yesterday except Edmonton and Seattle, which is ridiculous. Tampa Bay is at New York. Of course, I believe both teams are coming off wins yesterday. The Rangers beat my Bruins, and now they're having to come back home. It's only a trip from Boston to New York, though. Not really a big deal. I think they will show up for a game against Tampa, although they did just go into Tampa Bay and smack them 7-3 back on November 12th, which I forget if that was a win here on the show or not, because I know I have played the Rangers a lot as a road team. They're good on the road, but you know what I say. They suck ass at home. They're 2-7-1 at home, and Tampa Bay has been excellent on the road, 7-2-2 on the road. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Even though I expect the Rangers will at least show up here, but I don't know. I don't want to play the Rangers at home, that's for sure. Until something changes, at least. Tampa's on fire right now. They won 6 games in a row, which might mean you're not really getting value with them. And yeah, they're having to travel a little bit more than the Rangers are from Detroit to New York, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Tampa might get up for this because, again, they got embarrassed at home by the Rangers not that long ago. So there is kind of a quick revenge aspect to this. Money's coming in on the Rangers. I might slightly disagree with that. 56% of the tickets, 74% of the cash on the Rangers. They're a minus 115 favorite here. I would probably look towards Tampa Bay as the underdog, though. Again, I don't like the Rangers at home until they show us that they can actually win at home. And their wins at home right now are against Nashville and St. Louis. And I'm still pissed about that loss. St. Louis definitely could have won that game. So not impressive. Very, very unimpressive at home. Yeah, I don't know, man. Unders in Tampa, New York. I would like never play an under in a Tampa Bay Lightning game. I don't really trust their goaltending, and they're a more offensive-oriented team. It's a high total at 6.5, and I think it's high for a reason. Even though the cash looks like it might be coming in on the under, I would not play an under in that game. Montreal at Colorado. One of you guys last night mentioned that you wanted to fade Colorado off of losing a long win streak, which normally I would say that, yeah, that is an angle when you lose a long win streak. Colorado hadn't lost for like almost a month, so I get that. It can result in a hangover spot. And yeah, they're traveling back home from Minnesota, but I don't know, man. I think the spot is really bad for Montreal, though. Like, I've seen, there's no way that you can play Montreal in this game, in my opinion. Montreal's flying into elevation from Vegas, and they just beat Vegas yesterday. They're playing a third game in 4 days now, all in different cities. I don't see it, man. The road trip has already been a success. Yeah, I mean, ideally they're going to want to show up and play against Colorado, but I don't know. I think Colorado wins this one, and the money is agreeing with it. 51% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on them. They're all the way up to a minus 250 favorite. I mean, if you were going to play the game, I'm not really that tempted to like lay a puck line with Colorado, though, in that situation. Although I think Montreal's in a bad spot. Maybe you could look to like Colorado to go over their team total. Might be the way to go in that one. But yeah, I don't really see them losing that game. You're going to be at the Avs game. That's right. Yeah, have fun, man. It should be a crazy environment there. It should be good. You're going to put money on it just so you have interest in the game. I've had some bets on games that I've attended before as well, and it's I don't know, it becomes nerve-wracking because a lot of times, like, if I just have a bet on a game that I'm not attending, I don't have to watch the game. So, you know, it reduces my anxiety by not watching it. But then if I actually am at the game, I'm watching the game. Edmonton at Seattle, like I said, both teams did not play yesterday. So they're like the only teams that have rest, but they both have rest. Now, Seattle, they returned home in their last game against Dallas, and they took the loss. But I do talk about how teams do tend to do better in the second game back home if they take the loss in the first game because it's kind of a distraction spot. I don't really think they were distracted. I mean, they played fine against Dallas, lost 3-2, but multiple days off now. They get whatever they need to do back done at home, eat some turkey, celebrate Thanksgiving. I expect Seattle to show up against Edmonton here. For Edmonton, I know they've looked not great so far, man, and they're only sitting at 500 minus the overtime losses. But they also just faced Dallas, and they looked way worse in doing so, and that was a return home spot for Edmonton. That was a win here on the show. I talked about it, how Edmonton was going to have to do that, and then I forgot they were also just going to have to be focused on Thanksgiving while they were home as well. So that was a really bad spot. A single game back home before they have to go back out on the road. Very bad spot, and Edmonton took the loss. But I think that's going to tempt some people to take Seattle in this game because Edmonton, I mean, they might have lost a little bit of their luster with how bad they've been playing recently. People are going to see, oh, Seattle only lost to Dallas by 1. Edmonton got crushed by Dallas, and Seattle has the better record right now. So I actually think the public is not really going to be on Edmonton in this game. The money is coming in towards Seattle, though, it looks like. Edmonton down from minus 165 to minus 154. 58% of tickets, only 51% of the cash on Edmonton. So the money is coming in against Edmonton. I kind of lean towards Edmonton here. Edmonton did already lose at Seattle earlier this year, too. So if you take that into account, I don't know how much weight to really put into that, but there is maybe a little bit extra motivation for an in-season revenge angle from earlier in the season. Yeah, I mean, I think the common opponent thing kind of leads me towards Edmonton, and also the fact that you look at the team's records. Like, how could Edmonton be a road favorite here when the records are so much different, right? Like, Seattle looks like they're the way better team. The odds makers are telling you they're not, so that's another reason why I would kind of lean towards Edmonton there. I don't love it by any means, though. My Boston Bruins get Detroit here. The good thing for the Bruins is they're not traveling. So they're staying at home, and they did just take an ugly loss yesterday, and that was with Korpisalo in net, the corpse. So Swayman will be back in net here, so that's good. The Bruins will have their better goalie in net, and he'll be rested coming into this game. So there are some advantages for the Bruins here. Detroit is coming in from playing at home, so they're having to come in from Detroit with no time off. Although they lost ugly yesterday too, though. They've had multiple ugly losses in a row. I mean, the Nashville loss 6-3 was even uglier than losing 6-3 to Tampa, because Tampa is legitimately good. Overall, though, I do see more advantages for the Bruins. It looks like you will get Talbot back in net for Detroit, though, who I guess is their better goalie at this point. I don't know. The money's coming in on Detroit. They are a road favorite at minus 130. I agree they're the better team, but I don't know. To me, the fact that the Bruins aren't traveling, it was just a gross loss at home, and with Swayman back in net, I kind of lean towards the Bruins as the home underdog here. But 74% of tickets and only 60% of the cash, making it look like a public home underdog. I don't want any part of that. So, yeah, that's not going to be a play for me at all. Wait, who's playing Detroit on Tuesday? The Bruins? Yeah, the Bruins are playing Detroit twice. So there might be like a zigzag component coming into play in the second game, which I look for if the first result is like a major outlier one way or the other. It makes more sense to try to zag in the next game on the zig. It's better to zigzag with Gonzaga, man. Then you can zag with the Zags. Philadelphia and New Jersey. As I've mentioned, both these teams don't like each other. I leaned against both teams yesterday, and they both won anyway. New Jersey won 5-0 in Buffalo. I don't know how, but whatever. I mean, maybe they looked a little bit too good in that game. I haven't really looked at the box score yet, which I probably should because this involves the team that is involved in my other game. But look at this game. Buffalo, they outshot New Jersey 42-23 in the game, out-hit them, and New Jersey did win the face-off battle. And yeah, I know when you're losing by this much, yeah, you're going to start flinging up desperation shots, but they were only down 2-0 into the third period, so I don't know if that was really the case. It looks like by some metrics, Buffalo did outplay New Jersey in this game. And I think a lot of it probably came down to some of the defense and the goaltending just lapsing for Buffalo there. So New Jersey, probably not as good as they looked in that game. Now they're coming back home after playing in Buffalo. Philadelphia yesterday was in New York, and they got the win, unfortunately, because that was a play for me on the Islanders yesterday. That was also with Erson in net, who has not been as good, let's just say. So that made it even more of a situation where the Islanders made sense, and we still lost that game. Now Philadelphia's coming off that, winning in overtime on the road. They're playing a third game in 4 days, fourth game in 6 days, fifth game in 8 days, all in different cities, and they already beat New Jersey 6-3 to start that run of games. So I do think the spot sets up better for New Jersey, man. I mean, the game yesterday required less effort for them to get by Buffalo there. They haven't had as much travel. Basically, they had that one game on the road in Buffalo, and they've been back home otherwise. The money is completely coming in against New Jersey, but I just don't really see the angle. 65% of tickets, 51% of the cash on them. They're down from minus 155 to minus 137, but I somewhat lean to New Jersey in that game. Certainly not a play for me, though, and I do not like fading the market, but we'll see. In those games that I'm completely bucking the market, we'll see how I do. I mean, I did it in the NBA last night and got the win with the Magic, so there you go. I win on every single game involving the Detroit Pistons, so yeah, I agreed with Buffalo in that one. I thought it was the right side in that one. I didn't add it to my card, but I think they at least shouldn't have lost by as much as they did. What's the left wing lock? New Jersey's still without Jack Hughes, by the way, I'm pretty sure. Toronto and Pittsburgh. We had Toronto in one of their games recently here on the show. They got us a win in a close game. That was against Columbus. Then they had a loss to Washington yesterday. Now they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. Not exactly the easiest spot. They do have Florida and Carolina and Montreal all up next too, so do they overlook Pittsburgh? I don't know, maybe. I mean, they beat Pittsburgh earlier this year. Pittsburgh starting to fade a little bit. I think. I mean, I don't think they're as good as their record looks at the very least. Although we did get that win with Pittsburgh on the show against Buffalo, I believe. Pittsburgh won again yesterday in Columbus, and now they're coming back home. The travel spot is better. I mean, having that one road game, that's the only time they've been on the road since they came back from Sweden. So the travel spot does actually set up better for Pittsburgh in this one as well. Yeah, I'll lean slightly to Pittsburgh in this one. Again, the money seems to not agree, although these market percentages might shift by the time the games happen. 67% of tickets, 87% of the cash on Toronto. Pittsburgh has flipped to a minus 107 favorite, though. And I think if you're looking at Pittsburgh, you are at least fading the public there. But again, one of the problems that I have with it is also that Pittsburgh, I mean, I don't think it's that strong of a situation, but also Pittsburgh, they're not as good as their record looks. And Toronto is probably better than their record looks, and they do have Matthews back now, so a lot of things kind of going on in that game. No, the market does not trump every other situation. There might be some things that I see that the majority of bettors just are overlooking or something like that. No, like when I fade the market read based on like a strong situation, I think I win more often than I lose. And the market read, I mean, you can't put that much weight into it when you don't even know like what these percentages mean yet. Like especially in college basketball and hockey, these percentages could completely shift by the time the game actually happens. So you cannot like put too much weight into that. Although I try to use it to like gauge what I'm doing and like use it as a I try to read what's going on with the market. But a lot of those like reads are going to shift, but like basically I'm looking later in the day and hoping the market comes into agreement with me pretty much, which seems to be the case more often than it's not. So I think that is because I am reliant on the situation. Winnipeg and Nashville. Winnipeg, I mean, they're really starting to tail off without Hellebuck, man. I mean, he's the best goalie in hockey. Winnipeg, they've only won one game since he went down, I think. They've been bad. 4-game loss streak, although granted, they did lose twice to Carolina. So, I mean, Carolina's very good. Winnipeg did just take an ugly 5-1 loss to that Carolina team yesterday. Now they're going to Nashville. Could be a bit of a bounce-back spot for Winnipeg here. This Nashville team, you know, I keep saying they're ass, even though last year I kept saying they're not as bad as their record looks because that's what the odds makers are telling you. And they just kept losing. And I'm like, well, fuck these guys. Nashville is coming off a game. They won against Chicago yesterday, beat Detroit 2 days prior to that. So third game in 4 days, all in different cities. Big win over Detroit. And I told you, Nashville and Chicago, they really don't like each other. So that was a pretty big win for Nashville yesterday, too. Coming back home, I know it was a short trip, but I think I would have to lean to Winnipeg in this game. The money agrees with this one pretty substantially. They're up from -120 to -124. 72% of the cash on them, 64% of the tickets on Nashville. So at least as far as the market read right now, it looks like it is in agreement with me. And that's a market read that's very, very, like, when you see the percentages on complete opposite sides like that, I think it's less likely that it's going to change like drastically by the time the game happens. So I think the money is probably going to wind up agreeing with me on that one. Money knows fixes in the inside info. Yeah, I know, but the percentages that you see here aren't necessarily reflective of what's really going on. So you have to like figure out like how do you read these? Like what do these percentages mean? Is like a huge deal because they could mean something that they could look one way but mean something completely different. And then, like I said, like I look for strong situations, and I think that trumps it every single time. Ideally, I want the market to agree with me on my plays, but sometimes it won't, and that's just the way that it is. And I think I win more of those than I lose. Utah at St. Louis. Utah, I mean, they played yesterday, took a difficult loss, and we don't want to talk about it, against Dallas. They could have had that game. It was Vanacek in net for them, which I thought it would be. I just didn't care that much which goalie was going to be in net for Utah. Now they got to go to St. Louis off of that tough game against Dallas. Might be difficult spot there. St. Louis is staying at home, and it's their second game back home from a road trip. They did win the first game back home, but that doesn't necessarily mean the next game is going to be a negative spot. I just think it's more of a positive spot if they lost the first game at home and then they get to bounce back from it. But I still think they will show up, and the spot sets up better for them again because they're not having to travel. And Utah had that difficult game yesterday, so I lean to St. Louis in this one. Utah did flip from +101 to -109. 60% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on the Blues. I'll agree with the cash percentage that we see on that one right now. I'll agree with the Blues in that one. Hartford Whalers. I never went to a Hartford Whalers game, unfortunately. I think the only NHL games I've ever been to have been Bruins games. Only been to the ones in Boston. The only sport where I've been to like multiple different stadiums is baseball. I don't think I've done it in any of the other sports for whatever reason. Although that is kind of the thing, like, because the baseball parks are more unique, so you want to go visit some of those. Although I haven't done too many of those either. I've only been to, I think, 5 of them. I forget, but yeah. All right. Deneen, the captain. I'm going to be the captain now. Here's my one hockey play here is coming up here. You already know what it is. I mean, I already alluded to it. It is Buffalo on the money line. We're going to do it. We're going to fade Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota's coming off a huge win yesterday against Colorado in a shootout. They've now played 2 games into overtime in a row in the last couple of days. They're playing a 3rd game in 4 days. I know they're staying at home here, but they just beat Colorado in a shootout, man. I mean, I think this game looks like it has letdown written all over it, and they have to go out and play Edmonton on Tuesday. So I think it's a sandwich spot. It will be Gustafsson back in net here, most likely. They've been alternating between him and Wallstead, so it's not like one is like that much greater than the other. And I do think Minnesota's reached a point just like last year where I think they're not quite as good as their record looks. I mean, yeah, they've had some good wins in this recent run, but I think this is a spot where they get caught, man. Buffalo is having to travel, I know. But for Buffalo, they're starting they're not starting a road trip. It's a single game road trip. And I know sometimes that's a little bit tricky, but I think it's good for them to just get out of home because they just lost 5-0 at home in New Jersey yesterday. So I think it might be good for them to just forget about that and just leave and go play somewhere else and just focus on the game. So I think they will show up for this game. I mean, teams in hockey, when they get blown out, especially in a shutout, they are a pretty good team to look at to bounce back in the next game. Should be Luukkonen in net again here, which I don't know if that matters that much, but it was Lyon in net yesterday, and he was awful. So, and I already showed you the statistics in that game. Buffalo almost doubled New Jersey's shot count in the game, and I don't think it was all just because they were losing the game by a lot, because it was 2-0 into the 3rd period. So, Buffalo, the game statistically wasn't as bad as it looked yesterday. The Blues are the play here. It looks like the market does agree with this as well. Minnesota down from -165 to -141. 65% of tickets, 55% of the cash on Minnesota. We're going to do it. We'll grab Buffalo as the underdog on the money line. I like these money line underdogs, man. They're in this like price range. Get them at a decent price as a dog, and I think they have a decent shot to win the game. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, I'm Somali. I'm fading Minnesota here, man. Dude, yeah. I'm rooting for Minnesota's demise at Minnesota here. So it's all coming together, being Somali. And Wrigley is the best. I've never been to a game at Wrigley. Fenway, of course, I've been to many, many times. I like Fenway. I kind of liked it the old way. I don't really necessarily like all the renovations they've done to it. I don't know. I'm an originalist, man. What can I say? But yeah, Fenway, I mean, yeah, it's a fun time. I like going there. I mean, the atmosphere is usually good there. Yeah, I mean, I've been to the old Yankee Stadium, but not the new one. I've been to Anaheim, Houston, like the current stadiums that those two teams have. Those are fun. Maybe that's it. Maybe I've only been to 4 then. I don't know. I might be missing one. I forget. I should know. Minnesota, I mean, it's going to be in whatever. What language do they speak? Is it just Somalian? Celebrini and Kempe parlay, both recording a point, is +108. That doesn't seem like you're getting good enough odds on that. San Jose and Vegas, I don't know if I have a whole lot to say about this game. San Jose, they beat Vancouver yesterday. Now they got to go back out on the road. So they were in Colorado on Wednesday. They got blown out. They came back home. I liked San Jose yesterday, but I didn't make it a play, unfortunately. They got the win. Now they're back out on the road to face Vegas. And I think they're going to be catching Vegas in a very angry mood because Vegas has lost 4 games in a row. And I thought yesterday was a bounce-back spot because it was the second game back home. And they lost to Montreal. But if you look at what happened in this game, Vegas dominated this game, dude. 31-19 in shots. They did get out-hit somewhat, but they had almost 60% of the face-offs won as well. This game was not what it looked like on the scoreboard. There was an empty net goal as well. I don't know. I think there were just some lapses for Vegas, maybe goaltending-wise, defense-wise. They should have won that game, in my opinion, based on the statistics. So very misleading result there. Not just because I leaned to Vegas in that game, but I just think the stats actually bear that out. I think Vegas is going to show up in this game. I expect them to win. They're a huge favorite, though, at -320. 62% of tickets, 85% of the cash on them. Again, if you like Vegas here, probably Want to go something like Vegas over their team total. I mean, San Jose is known for allowing a lot of goals, so that might be the way that I would go with this. Although recently they haven't as much, but yeah, I mean, I think probably the way to go with that is Vegas over the team total. I mean, I guess you could lay the puck line in that one. I would be less hesitant to do it with them than with Colorado. Old Yankee Stadium, I don't know, man. The bleacher creatures, they're no fun. They burned my Red Sox hat. So, yeah, I don't know. Those people in New York, not a great crowd. Although, yes, we have our share of, drunken assholes in Boston, of course. Vancouver is playing at LA to finish off this hockey slate here. All these teams, by the way, again, played yesterday except for Edmonton and Seattle. Vancouver took that loss to San Jose yesterday, like I mentioned. Now they're going to LA. They do have Colorado next. But this is weird because why would Vancouver be in Anaheim and then have to go all the way up to San Jose and then back down to LA after that with no time off? I mean, it's just Vancouver should have a beef with the schedule makers for that, man. I don't know what they're doing. LA's coming off a tough loss in a shootout on the road at Anaheim, though, and LA's a very good road team, and Anaheim's a very good home team, so something had to give in that game, and it was Anaheim winning in a shootout. So I think LA's in a worse spot because that was yesterday, even though I know they're only traveling back up the road, but it could be difficult to recollect themselves after that game, man. And as I keep pointing out, the Kings are not good at home. They're much better on the road. They're only 2-4-3 at home. Vancouver actually not horrible on the road, 7-6-1. So I actually kind of like Vancouver in this one. LA up to -200 for -185, but 59% of the tickets on them, 71% of the cash on Vancouver. So yeah, the money is coming in on the Vancouver side. It looks like, at least for now. I don't disagree. It's kind of a tough one though to really gauge. So I don't like it that much. Yeah, New York City. I mean, it is definitely a shithole. The last time I was there was a few years ago. Not at Yankee Stadium that time, but the last time I was in New York City. All right, let's finish it off with NBA. My Boston Celtics are at Minnesota. A lot of things going on in this one, man. I think both teams are in bad spots. Celtics just got a huge win over Detroit, ending Detroit's huge win streak. Monster win for the Celtics. Now, they got to go to Minnesota. Could be a letdown spot, and I do say usually you're focused on the first game of the road trip, but after they played Detroit and got that win, I don't think so. And then they do have Cleveland up next tomorrow. That's a bigger game because that's an Eastern Conference game. So I don't like the spot for the Celtics, but do I like the spot for Minnesota? No. I do not. Minnesota is coming back home from a road trip that they've been on since Friday, November 21st, even though they only played 3 games. And yeah, they did lose every game on the road trip, so I think the public is going to think, oh, well, they'll bounce back at home. Will they, though? I don't know. I mean, they just came off a close game against OKC, man. And as you guys pointed out, they were in this game late in the game as huge underdogs against OKC. Double-digit underdogs. They had chances to maybe pull off the upset there, so that's what they're coming off of, plus the return home spot where they might be a little bit distracted. They do have a Western Conference team next in San Antonio, although I know it's without Wemba, but the Celtics are without Tatum. I don't like either side. Like, can we somehow bet on both teams to fail in this game? Because that's what I would do with this game. Minnesota, by the way, you're asking them to cover this huge number as a favorite. And as I keep pointing out, guess how many times Minnesota has beaten a team with a winning record this season? 0. Minnesota has not beaten a team with a winning record this season. And you're not only asking them to win, but cover a 7-point number here. Yeah, I actually think that if you have forced me to give you a side on this, I think I would take the points with the Celtics. Obviously, I don't want to do it because they're in a terrible spot as well. But 89% of the tickets, 86% of the cash on Minnesota. I mean, again, Minnesota, they have not shown the ability to beat good teams this year. So until we see that, I think we got to just leave them alone. I know the Celtics are not the greatest team. They are technically a winning record team, but they're only 10-8. The money seems to be coming in towards the under, although I think in a spot like this where you think both teams might not have total focus, whatever, I tend to think that the over is the way to go. So, I don't know, man. Do with that information what you want to, I guess. Toronto is at Charlotte. Charlotte, has a really ugly record. Toronto's been really hot, not having lost since November 8th. So Toronto, they've won whatever this is, 9 games in a row. They barely got by Indiana in their last game. Very, very ugly, low-scoring game. Could argue that they're going to be in a bounce-back spot. They get to leave, go out on the road, refocus. They were in kind of a bad spot in that one, coming off a big win over Cleveland. So, yeah, Toronto, they didn't have the greatest game at all. Maybe going out on the road will refocus them, but they do have to face the Knicks tomorrow. They already beat Charlotte at home the last time they played them. It was only by 2 points, though. Which I think that might have been, was that one of my plays? It might have been. I forget. But do I want to come in and give out a play on Charlotte here? I don't really, although they're staying at home, and they got a win yesterday. And it was a big win over Chicago, but Chicago's been faltering recently. And Charlotte just broke a long loss streak with that win, so that's good. Sometimes when you break a long loss streak, it will propel you with momentum into the next game. So I do still lean to Charlotte in this game, despite the fact that, my hesitation would be that Toronto would kind of be in a bounce-back mode as well because they looked bad in the last game. Toronto's up to a 9-point favorite, and they're anti-public, it looks like, so I don't know. 74% of tickets, only 61% of the cash on the Hornets. But, how could the public really be on the Hornets in this game? The team with the way worse record against one of the hottest teams, the hottest team in basketball. I don't really see that actually being the case. I don't buy it. Why did that line move that much, though? Is there an injury? I don't know. There are always injuries. It looks like LaMelo Ball is a game-time decision, so maybe that's why. Wait, what? He's not listed. Oh, that was 2 hours ago, but it says he's not listed on the injury report against New York. What? What's happening here? Yeah, that news is not from 2 hours ago. That news was back on this past Wednesday is when that was. So he played. I don't know. I don't know if this indicates that he's not playing in this game, and that's why Toronto has gone up to a 9-point favorite, but I would probably lean towards taking the points. I don't love the fact that the Hornets look like a public home underdog, as unbelievable as that sounds. I don't want to do it. Chicago is at Indiana. Chicago, they are coming off that game against Charlotte where they lost. That's an ugly loss, man. And now they could be in a bounce-back mode after that because that's not a good loss. Indiana, I was going to say that we're probably going to be in a difficult spot coming off that really close game against Toronto. They took Detroit and Toronto both basically to the limit. But coming off of that, they actually won against Washington yesterday, and now that's what they're coming off of. So that kind of eliminates maybe that type of spot there, although maybe they do still have a little bit of a letdown here. I don't know. I don't want to touch this game either. The money is coming in towards the Pacers. The Bulls are up to a 3.5-point favorite. Does look too easy to lay the points with the Bulls against this Pacer team that has a horrendous record. 79% of tickets on the Bulls, 53% of the cash on Indiana. Money coming in on Indiana for now. I don't have a strong opinion on this at all. I see arguments for both. I guess the default in that case would be with the market. I don't love it at all, though. Indiana, of course, still dealing with some injuries, although really it's still just mostly Halliburton, who's probably not coming back this year. Detroit has now lost 2 in a row. We got the win yesterday, fading them with Orlando. That was a return home spot for Detroit. Detroit had their long win streak busted, so I thought it was a bad spot for multiple reasons. Now, they get to swing around and go out on the road, but they have to travel from Detroit to Miami for a single game here. But part of my handicap yesterday was that they would be more focused on the Miami game. So I think maybe it will be good for them to just get out of home. They had a bad game yesterday, but they're playing 3 games in 4 days, 4 games in 6 days, and 5 games in 8 days, all in different cities. So that's not easy to do. And traveling, on a back-to-back. Miami, they're hot right now. They got their lineup back, heroes back. They've won 6 in a row, coming off a close win against Milwaukee. And that was, I believe, Giannis returned to the lineup in that game. So that was the reverse injured player spot for Miami, I believe. Or no, wait. Excuse me, from Milwaukee. I'm wrong. Milwaukee played again after that. I'm wrong. Yeah, the Giannis came back in the New York game. And I think Milwaukee missed the cover by a half point in that game. which that gave me hesitation because I leaned to Milwaukee in that game otherwise. But yeah, so Miami's coming off barely beating Milwaukee without Giannis. So Miami also staying at home. Maybe they were looking ahead to this game. I do think the spot does still set up better for Miami in this one. The money seems like it agrees with the Heat up to a 4-point favorite, which I think also the public's going to look at that and think there's no way Detroit loses 3 in a row. Like, how could you not take Detroit getting points here? But I think Miami might be the right side. Miami's 9-1 at home, so they've been excellent at home. I know Detroit's good on the road, too, 7-2, but the money's saying Miami. I know you're having to lay a little bit more if you do like them. Maybe money line parlay them with something else. I don't know. 88% of tickets, 89% of the cash on the Miami side. We do have Brooklyn and Milwaukee. And Milwaukee, this is going to be the second game with Giannis back. And I do talk about how second game back with your star player back, you tend to play better than you did the first game because first game he's got to work his way back in. Now the next game you're used to him being there again. They're traveling with no time off, but it's only from Manhattan to Brooklyn. So, I mean, they're still in New York City. Not much of a travel spot for Milwaukee. So, some positives. But they are still coming off a game against the Knicks yesterday. So, that's a tough game. So, could be a little bit of a hangover as well. So, I see mostly positives, but some negatives for Milwaukee here. Brooklyn, they also played yesterday, and they lost at... this is in Milwaukee. What am I saying? My mistake. I'm sorry. This is in Milwaukee. So Milwaukee's actually returning home from New York. So that is a lot worse. So never mind. Not from a long road trip, but that does make it worse. So never mind. I don't like Milwaukee anywhere near as much, given that. This was not going to be a play anyway, though. Brooklyn played yesterday against Philly. Now they're going out on the road. They took the loss. Maybe for them it would be good to just get out of home. They didn't play for like 3 days prior to the game against Philadelphia. So I think the spot does actually set up better for the Nets, looking at that game as a whole. The Bucks are up to an 11.5-point favorite. Very public, 93% of tickets, only 57% of the cash. Probably would agree with that money and slightly lean with Brooklyn, but I don't love it by any means. New Orleans is at Golden State. New Orleans hasn't played since the 26th. They lost in overtime to Memphis, and now they get to go out on the road, which normally I will say it is a focus spot when you go out on the road, and I think it should be. And they're facing Golden State and LA back-to-back here, but the Lakers. But they lost to both of those teams in November, earlier in November. So it's if the revenge spot matters, it's a revenge spot in both games. So yeah, I expect focus from New Orleans here, and I don't love the spot for Golden State. Golden State staying at home, but they played Houston. Very tough game. Houston got their playoff revenge. That was a big game. And Golden State has OKC next. So Golden State is in a sandwich here between two of the top 3 teams in the West. Major sandwich spot. And they did, like I said, already go into New Orleans and blast them by 18 on the road. So everything really is setting up nicely for New Orleans. However, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. This does not involve Houston. I want to fade Houston in their next game. It hasn't even happened yet, I don't think. The problem is Steph Curry is out, and he played the last game. So now Golden State falls into an injured player theory spot. So the first game with Curry out, they might actually step up their game a little bit. So that is the one issue that I really have with fading Golden State. Otherwise, I like the Pelicans in this one, but the money is saying Golden State. 78% of tickets on the Pelicans, 89% of the cash on the Warriors. They're a 9-point favorite. I would still take the points of the Pelicans if I was going to play this game, but the injured player theory spot does worry me a little bit. My one play is in this next game here. Pittsburgh has the nastiest fans? I don't know about that. Philly is very, very bad. Sorry, Jeffrey, but they are. Red Sox and Yankees, yeah, they definitely get into it at Yankee Stadium and at Fenway, but more so at Yankee Stadium probably. I don't know. I mean, the Yankees fans are the ones that threw all the beer bottles and the trash onto the field and at the players and stuff during the ALCS in 2004, the bloody sock game after the A-Rod glove slap call, which was the correct call. He absolutely slapped the ball out of Arroyo's glove. A-Rod, very Bush League player. He made multiple plays like that throughout his career. Fuck A-Rod. Final play of the day is the NBA play here. Denver -3 at Phoenix. I like how this sets up for Denver. Denver's coming off a pretty ugly home loss to San Antonio with no Wemby. Denver might be good for them to just go away, get out on the road, man. I know they're having to travel with no time off, but they lost as a big home favorite. And before that, they hadn't played since Monday, so they're not really going to be that unrested, I don't think, coming into this one. So I like how this sets up. Just get out of home for a day. You lost, leave, go on the road, bounce back. For Phoenix, yeah, they've been playing some better basketball, but they just played Oklahoma City yesterday on the road and only lost by 4. So how do they bounce back from that? So they're having to travel as well, but they were 14.5-point underdogs, and they almost beat Oklahoma City last night on the road. I mean, this game, Oklahoma City was winning most of the game, looking like they were running away with it. Phoenix didn't go away, and they played and came all the way back in the game and got to within 1 point with a few minutes left, or maybe even tied it with a few minutes left. So I just don't know what Phoenix is going to have left in the tank after that, man. And they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, and a fourth game in 6 days, and fifth game in 7 days. So their schedule has also been more packed than Denver's has been. I like how it sets up for Denver a lot more. Denver just lost as a big favorite. Phoenix just almost won as a huge dog. I like it for Denver, man. Denver is also good on the road. I know Phoenix is good at home. They're 8-3, but Denver has been really good on the road, 7-2. So Denver, they're definitely a team that you can rely on the road. Right now, Phoenix is just insanely public. I don't really know why. 90% of the tickets, 96% of the cash. The number looks like it's at 3.5. I mean, I think that's probably fine as well. Open at 5.5. I don't know what happened because I don't really think there's an injury, except Aaron Gordon is still out, but we already knew that. So I don't think there's any real change in the injury situation here that would cause that line to move. Yeah, I like the Denver Nuggets in this one, man. We'll lay the points with it. Phoenix is maybe shaping up to be one of those dreaded home public underdogs as well. So another reason to maybe look towards the favorite. We'll go with Denver. Booing, yes. Yes, correct. Yeah, there'd be like pop flies for A-Rod, and he would yell, "Got it," like he was pretending to be one of the fielders calling for it to try to make the fielder not try to catch the ball, you know what I mean? Like making them think that one of their teammates called it. Yeah, fuck that. Philly was booing their own team. Well, I mean, the New England Patriots fans did that too, I will say. And that was even more ridiculous because you were talking about the Patriots after they've already won like 4 or 5 Super Bowls, whatever, and they're booing the Patriots whenever they whenever the Patriots have to punt, they're booing them at home. When they still had Tom Brady and they were still winning tons and tons of games, the fan base is so spoiled. That's another reason why I was off the Patriot. Like, I was completely anti-Patriots. I'm like, look at this spoiled fan base booing when they have to punt. I mean, for one time in the game. I mean, come on, man. All right. And then there is one final game in the NBA between Dallas and LA, the Clippers in this case. Ugh, God, this is a pretty ugly one. I mean, these teams have both been real ugly. Dallas did just play in LA yesterday, so they're not traveling, but they did play the Lakers. That's a big game. The whole Luka trade situation. Those teams probably don't like each other at this point. The Lakers won by 10. Dallas, now they got to face this bad Clipper team, and they do have Denver coming up on Monday. Probably not the greatest spot for Dallas, even though the game wasn't exactly close against the Lakers. The Clippers are just staying at home, coming off an ugly home loss in a really big-time return home spot, man. I mean, I think just Memphis was also in a bad spot, which is why I didn't give that out as a play. But the Clippers lost at home to Memphis, coming home from a long road trip, but they were gone for 2 weeks. They came back home and took that loss. So even though they're playing again now, so is Dallas. To me, it looks like a bounce-back spot for the Clippers, even though I know the Clippers have been real bad recently. And the last time they won at home was against New Orleans on Halloween. So I know that the Clippers being good at home like they were last year when they got their new arena, that's completely gone away. But Dallas is awful on the road. They're 1-5 on the road. So the spot to me sets up better for the Clippers as more of a bounce back, but you're asking them to lay 7 points, and they're public, 91% of the tickets, 90% of the cash. I don't want anything to do with it. But I do think the spot is better for them. to bounce back. Again, second game back home. You do tend to bounce back. Plus, it's the last game of the homestand, so they want to avoid going 0-2. But if you want the Clippers, you're asking them to cover. And with the team playing as ugly as that team has been, that seems difficult. Difficult ask. And they're public. So, anyway, that's going to do it. Let's look at the college football market reads before I get out of here. On the two games that I did give out, Baylor still looks like an anti-public home favorite, so that's looking good. Auburn pretty much looking like they're an anti-public home dog as well. So those are the plays that I gave out. We're looking good there. That's going to do it for today. College football, we got Baylor -2.5, Auburn +5.5. Basketball, we're laying it with Louisiana Tech -11.5, 12, whatever. Texas State -6. Tennessee Tech plus the points, 34.5, maybe even more. Fordham -6.5. And then hockey, we have Buffalo money line and Denver Nuggets in NBA minus the points. That's going to do it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the channel here. Give me good comments. Give me a good review on Apple and Spotify. Listen over there. That helps me out. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. Patreon.com/LearnToToad, and you get a Uke Spotify feed, which is not up to date, as I always say. I know I have to stop saying that. I got to get back to it again. And I got to treat the Patreons better, man, because they're supporting me. And then we got, you get requests, Uke requests at the highest level. It has been announced, as you saw, if you follow Leighton from Outlawed Thoughts or whatever. I've been on his show a couple of times. He has announced that we are starting a new podcast. It's going to be me, him, Adam Nutter, and two dudes, so I have no idea who they are. 5 co-hosts, I guess. The show is going to be called Loser Cast. It is going to be a comedy panel show of sorts, kind of like a hangout, I assume, and loosely structured around us determining who we feel is the biggest loser of the week every week and debating that, something along those lines. So you can subscribe to that on YouTube now. There are multiple loser casts out there, so hopefully you find the right one. It's like kind of a glowing red L for a logo. So check that out too. Yeah, magnets, how do they work? Thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I feel like my show is, again, too long-winded, and I am wrecking my voice. I hate it, and I'm an asshole all the time, so I'm an asshole. If you know Dennis Leary, the Boston area comedian, he's got a song about being an asshole called I'm an Asshole. You can go check that out, too. Yes, sir. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I'll be back tonight for the NFL show. NFL, we're 0-1 to start the week, which is, I got really pissed about it. I'm not happy about it, but it could be worse given the fact that I've been wrong about every game so far. We got to turn it around. I'll probably have a couple of NFL plays that come into the mix. We'll see. I don't love the board, though, so we'll see what I come up with. I'll be there tonight for that. Yeah, Dennis Leary. Yes, sir. That's going to do it for now. Peace, guys.